people, notably George Papadopoulos' wife and others. We had Christopher Wiley back, the gentleman who was at Cambridge Analytica. But the truth of the matter is what I think Congress ought to be focused on when we get back is passing a budget and not closing down the federal government, as the president has now threatened to do, over a failure for Congress to appropriate the funds to build the border wall, which he campaigned on in 2016, would be 100% paid for by the government of Mexico.
All right, Congressman Denny Heck, thank you. Coming up with guilty verdicts and guilty pleas closing in, the president lashes out at the DOJ, but Attorney General Jeff Sessions is having none of it. The latest step in their public feud and what happens if the president fires the AG. Those stories in 2 minutes.
The fact is, there are over 9,600 roads named Park in the U.S. It's America's most popular street name, but all state agents know that's where the similarity stops. If you're on Park Street in Reno, Nevada, the high winds of the Washoe Zephyr could damage your sighting. And that's very different than living on Park Avenue in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, where ice dams could cause water damage. But no matter what park you live on, one of 10,000 local Allstate agents knows yours. And now that you know the truth, are you in good hands?
BMW Summer On Sales Event, now through September 3rd.
This is your month to get the Audi you've always wanted during Audi Minter's Summer of Audi Sales Event. Get an all-new 2018 A4 for only $399 a month, or the 2018 Q5 for only $489 a month. Hurry in or shop MinterAudi.com. A driver on the Penske Cleveland team.
This is the era of digital possibility, when every connection is an opportunity to do more. To build a network of human progress, where every fiber-lit building, enterprise, and city we connect lays the foundation to our digital economy. Join us as we turn the promise of technology into digital progress. Together, Spectrum Enterprise.
This is your month to get the Audi you've always wanted during Audi Minter's Summer of Audi Sales Event. Get an all-new 2018 A4 for only $399 a month, or the 2018 Q5 for only $489 a month. Hurry in or shop MinterAudi.com. A driver on the Penske Cleveland team.
As I've said, I wanted to stay uninvolved, but when everybody sees what's going on in the Justice Department, I always put justice now with quotes, it's a very, very sad day. Jeff Sessions recused himself, which he shouldn't have done, or he should have told me. Even my enemies say that Jeff Sessions should have told you that he was going to recuse himself, and then you wouldn't have put him in. He took the job, and then he said, I'm going to recuse myself. I said, what kind of a man is this? And by the way, he was on the campaign. You know, the only reason I gave him the job, because I felt loyalty. He was an original supporter.
That interview from this morning is just the latest example of the president complaining about his attorney general, almost from the moment Jeff Sessions recused himself, which he did, we should say, under some pressure after he had told some untruths under oath to the Senate. From the moment he recused himself from the DOJ's investigation into Trump and Russia, the president began questioning his loyalty. And according to reports, he even discussed the possibility of replacing him. But that was last summer, when Sessions had the support of his former Senate colleagues. Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley tweeted at the time that there was, quote, no fire Sessions. I'm joined by Elliot Williams, a former Deputy Assistant Attorney General for Legislative Affairs at the Justice Department, and Chris Liu, former White House Cabinet Secretary and Assistant to President Obama. First, let me start with you, Chris, on this relationship between these two men, which is just obviously abysmal. What is going on here?
I don't know what's going on. This was a remarkable statement by Sessions today, a statement of independence, as well as the defense of career prosecutors. It's remarkable that only Donald Trump could make us feel sorry for Jeff Sessions. And the irony of all this is that Sessions is in lockstep with him on things like immigration, criminal justice reform, civil rights. But Sessions has committed the mortal sin of being disloyal in the eyes of the president. And the disloyalty comes down to not protecting Trump. And that's not the role of the Attorney General. He is the Attorney General of the United States. He is not the president's personal attorney. And what is remarkable is the statements that you played from people like Lindsey Graham or Chuck Grassley, who really are not coming to Sessions' defense. And that's troubling on a lot of levels.
Well, to me, Elliot, that's the green light, right? I mean, that makes me think it's going to happen at some point in the next few months. And I guess the question to you is, okay, so let's say tomorrow he fires Sessions. What happens next?
Well, so certainly Rod Rosenstein is the number 2 at the Justice Department, and under the succession would necessarily be the Attorney General. But it's complicated.
That's not going to happen, yeah.
That's not going to happen because the president, there's House members calling for the impeachment of Rosenstein and so on. So the president has the authority under the Vacancy Reform Act, which is the law that governs all of this, to install an acting Attorney General, and that person just can be anyone who's been confirmed by the Senate for something else. So that could be one of the current U.S. attorneys. It could be one of the current, assistant attorneys general of the Justice Department. Frankly, it could even be another cabinet member. So you could have Attorney General Betsy DeVos, God help us, if that happens. So and after that, it creates a whole cascade of potentially legal problems of, does the individual who's been nominated have a potential conflict of interest? For instance, if someone has worked for or with a bank that's under investigation, do they have a conflict of interest, right? Does the president has already said he wants to end a major investigation of him and his dealings? Is that a conflict right there? And all kinds of stuff. I remember when we worked for Sally Yates at the time, when she was acting, there's only a few positions in the government that can sign FISA warrants. So when you put an acting individual in, you actually take some of the power away from that individual to do their job. If it's not someone like Rod Rosenstein. Yeah. So it just creates a mess, and it's of the president's own doing.
Well, but also just to follow quickly, right? That person would then have, because Sessions is recused, that person would then be the person that Robert Mueller would then start reporting to, whoever was put in on an interim basis, Betsy DeVos or some U.S. attorney that people widely trusted.
Right, exactly. So as right now, Rod Rosenstein has authority over the investigation just because Jeff Sessions recused himself, which caused this whole mess in the first place. The new Attorney General would most likely take that over, which again, if it's someone that the president wants, who presumably is someone who's going to do the president's bidding because of the loyalty point you were making, it's just going to cause even further trouble.
Well, that'll be a big deal.
Right.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders was asked yesterday about a pardon for Manafort and said that has not been discussed. And then, of course, the president's own criminal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, said, yes, we have discussed it today, and said we told him just wait until the Mueller investigation's over. What does it mean to have the president dangling this, essentially? Chris?
Well, I think it's troubling from the rule of law perspective. And what we've seen is that when the president does this, he is contemplating it. Unfortunately, there are apparently some guardrails still left in the White House. But the more important guardrail has to be on Capitol Hill. Look, we saw this play out with the revocation of security clearances with John Brennan. You had Paul Ryan basically saying, no, the president would never do this. These half-hearted denials, these half-hearted disapprovals aren't enough. And so unless people on the Hill forcefully say a pardon for Manafort or anyone else who might be a potential witness would be out of bounds, you're going to continue to have the speculation, and the president's going to continue to think about it.
Please.
But one thing, Senate Republicans haven't, save for Jeff Flake and one or two other people whose careers are over, Senate Republicans have not bucked the president. And even now, if you see, two of Jeff Sessions' former colleagues in the Senate are now, coming for his head, pretty much. So it's, until we start seeing some desire or some appetite, in the United States Congress, Republicans for going after the president, no one's really going to hold anyone accountable here.
They have kept Sessions in his job. To be clear, like Grassley and his colleagues have kept Sessions in his job. They have now appeared to give him the green light to go forward. So we will see what happens. On the pardon questions, it's interesting the president didn't talk to the pardon attorney or White House counsel, but to his own personal criminal attorney about that matter.
Right.
Elliot Williams and Chris Liu, thanks for making the time.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Coming up, does Michael Cohen's plea agreement jeopardize the Trump Organization, the legal exposure for the president's business, and the Trump kids right after this?
Adults are just kids with much, much better toys. Introducing the 2018 C-Class sedan, coupe, and cabriolet.
The thrills keep getting better. Lease the C300 sedan for $399 a month at your local Mercedes-Benz dealer. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
At Wayfair.com, we think that when the big stuff ships free, it's just better.
Cover better, crunch better, rock better, roll better, whoa better, dream better, clean better. Yeah, better!
Oh, Wayfair has free shipping. Game changer.
Fast better, free better, everything's better when it's
free shipping on orders over $49. Shop better at Wayfair.com.
Wayfair, you've got just what I need.
Hi there. This is a commercial about insurance. I know you're thinking, I don't want to hear about insurance. Because let's be honest, nobody likes dealing with insurance, right? Which is why Esurance hired me, Dennis Quaid, as their spokesperson, because apparently I'm highly likable.
I like Dennis Quaid.
Aw. And they want me to let you know that, cue over dramatic music, they're on a mission to make insurance painless.
Excuse me. Did you drop this?
They know it's confusing.
I don't have no idea what I'm getting, Dennis Quaid.
That's why they're making it simple. Man and Cafe. And they know it's expensive.
Yeah.
So they're making it affordable.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's a prop apple.
Now, you might not believe any of this, since this is a television commercial. But that's why they're being so transparent. Anyways, this is the end of the commercial, where I walk off into a very dramatic sunset to reveal the new Esurance tagline, so that you'll remember it. Esurance. It's surprisingly painless.
With MetLife Auto, you're not just covered for special parts replacement, you're truly protected with things like new car replacement coverage, and you could get an employee discount. So relax and enjoy the ride. MetLife. Navigating life together.
I'm Captain Obvious, and Hotels.com rewards me basically everywhere. So why am I hosting a dental convention after party in my Vegas suite? Or wearing a full-body wetsuit at this spa retreat? Or sliding into this ski lodge with my mini-horse cabin? Because Hotels.com lets me do me, right? Sorry, the cold makes him a little hoarse. Hotels.com. You do you and get rewarded. You're wearing a hat. That's funny.
At MetLife Auto, we throw in free extras like replacement cost coverage along with new car replacement. And you can get an employee discount. It's car insurance for the sweet life. MetLife. Navigating life together.
You made the decision before they came in.
I was going to fire company.
That is fire being pushed by the wind. Our escort said we simply can't.
You're watching MSNBC.
In the wake of Michael Cohen's plea deal, there's been a lot of discussion about President Trump's possible personal legal jeopardy, whether a sitting president is insulated from indictment or prosecution by the fact that he is the president. We do know with some certainty who would not be so insulated. Officers, employees of the president's company, the Trump Organization, if it had participated in any illegal scheme. If you listen carefully, the prosecutor describing how Michael Cohen sought reimbursement for his illegal hush money payments, that prosecutor is talking about the Trump Organization, which he refers to simply as the candidate's company.
Mr. Cohen sought reimbursement for that money by submitting invoices to the candidate's company, which were untrue and false. They indicated that the reimbursement was for services rendered for the year 2017, when in fact those invoices were a sham. He provided no legal services for the year 2017, and it was simply a means to obtain reimbursement for the unlawful campaign contribution.
Court document detailing Michael Cohen's plea deal repeatedly refers to the company and executives at the company. The company is the Trump Organization. It is unclear from the document exactly who the executives are, but among the top-tier executives at the Trump Org, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump are executive vice presidents. MSNBC political analyst David Fahrenthold is a Washington Post reporter covering President Trump's businesses and conflicts of interest. His latest piece details how Michael Cohen's apparent interest in cooperating could implicate both the Trump Org and the Trump Foundation. David, let's start with the Trump Org. They show up in a filing a plea deal in federal court, which is not a great thing to happen to a company.
That's right. As you said, we don't know who those two executives are. The top of the Trump organization is a pretty narrow band. There's the two brothers, and there's a guy named Alan Weisselberg, who's effectively the CFO of the company. Those are the three people that run the company. Really, the only people